Speech and press have held such an important hold on history for as long as they have been around. During the American Revolution, it was speech and press that both inspired the revolution and also inspired to continue on the road of revolution. Now, what we saw during the American Revolution is we saw many influential people come into the light to use their ideas to bring forth the government that we enjoy today. Now, one of these very important people was Benjamin Franklin. He held a very, very important newspaper up in Pennsylvania. It was the Philadelphia Gazette, and this Gazette was very monumental in informing the people of exactly what the British government was doing and all of these important pieces of information. And it was really scrutinized by the government, and they toned back for a minute just so that they could stay going. But there was another really important figure that I think was very monumental and used the power of the press to rally 13 colonies who were very separated from each other to come together and fight for a nation that they knew that they could build. Common Sense was written by Thomas Paine at a time when a lot of people were really nervous about leaving England. They were very restricted. They thought that they needed England. But in Common Sense, he lined out exactly what Britain was doing wrong. He outlined how wrong they were, and he outlined where they could go. And it's titled Common Sense because he's like, if you use common sense, then you'll see that independence is what we need from Great Britain. This was very, very powerful. It ran all the way through the United States. It originally came out of Philadelphia, but it ran like wildfire. And this pamphlet was actually it was illegal to own, which is the reason why there's only 5 remaining original copies of Common Sense still alive today. Part of that is because that was 300 years ago, but the other part is because people had to read it, and then they had to burn it because they couldn't own it unless they wanted to have nor their door broken down by British soldiers. But it was very, very powerful, and it completely changed the way that people perceived independence from Great Britain. Another really powerful part of press during American history was in the 1830s with the publishing of Uncle Tom's Cabin. It's a very powerful book. I would actually inspire everybody to go read it because it really did help bring forth to people to understand the bad side of slavery and was honestly one of the reasons for the Civil War. One time when when Harriet Beecher Stowe, the author of Uncle Tom's Cabin, met President Abraham Lincoln, Abraham Lincoln looked at her and said, "You are the little woman who started this war." So many different leaders and soldiers in the Civil War were impacted by this book. One of the most powerful one of them was Joshua Chamberlain. He's known really well for Little Round Top. He was during the Battle of Gettysburg. He is also known for he was one of the ones in the room when they signed the treaty at the Appomattox courthouse, and he was a very influential part in the Civil War. But the reason that he decided to fight in that war, because he was a professor. He was not a soldier. He was a professor in a little university in Maine. But because of a single book, he decided to push all of that aside to go fight for other people's freedoms. The impact that literature can have on people is profound. When the Constitution of the United States was being written, they used that freedom of speech that they were allowed in the United States And three very monumental people were able to write the Federalist Papers. It was John Jay, James Madison, and Alexander Hamilton. They got their ideas together and they put them out to show the United States what the Constitution was, because it was going up for ratification and it was not looking great. They needed 9 states to ratify this Constitution, and some of them were extremely close. You had places like New York, which was John Jay and Alexander Hamilton's home colony and state. They ratified the Constitution by only 3 votes. So it was very close, but they used that freedom of speech to explain to the American people the document that they were being given. But because of the lack of free speech found in the world, we have been kept from a lot of really important information. In the 1700s, a man by the name of Galileo Galilei, we all know him, a big scientist, he was imprisoned by the Catholic Church for some of his scientific ideas, specifically the idea that the sun was the center of the universe rather than the earth. And this was not at all appreciated by the Catholic Church. He was imprisoned and put into house arrest for the rest of his life. He was able to smuggle some of his ideas out of his home and bring that information to the public. But it still very much put a damper, and it was very much used as an example to push down other people who were trying to bring forth scientific ideas. There was a French philosopher at the time who was about to write his work and call it The World. And this is what he said in 1634. He said, "This has so astonished me that I have almost resolved to burn all of my papers, at least let no one see them. I would not for the world have discourse proceed from me, which was a single word that the church would disapprove of." And he said this because he was scared that the Catholic Church, which was state run, they would go and they would take his work and they would restrict that freedom of speech. So he did write The World. It's his best known work. And but he he didn't add everything to it. He restricted part of it because he knew that it would not be accepted by the government. So many of his ideas were restricted. Uh, and this was very, very powerful. And all throughout, all throughout history, we've seen examples like this where brilliant minds have been silenced because of the government going through and basically telling them that they can't teach that, and honestly, almost killing them. Now, does this mean that we should let every single idea run free in the wild? No, that's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying that the government does not have the right to make that decision for the people. I look at government like this. God made people and people made government. Can people tell God what to do? No. So why should the government tell the people what to do? Because the people are supposed to be the government. They established the government to help the people. The government did not make the people so that the government could have more control. That's never the way it should have worked. So when we're talking about restricting free speech, we have to think, okay, well, let's think, let the people decide. It's the people's choice. So there's this big argument right now that, oh, well, we need to have pornographic ideas in children's schools. We have to have all of this different stuff, and that's just free speech. We have to have these woke ideas put on our children, but that's just free speech. But is it? Because yes, it is free speech, but is that what the people want? It's the people's decision to be exposed to what they're gonna be exposed to, and it's hard with children because children are under the jurisdiction of their parents. So the the children may think that this is okay and dandy, but what do the parents think? Because the parents are responsible over the children. So it's up to the parents. And if the parents decide that no, we don't want this in our schools, then the government should respect that freedom of speech as well and should take the action to do what the people want because the people rule the government, not the other way around. And I know that if we can follow that point of you make the decisions and not the government on what you're going to listen to and what you're going to do, then overall we will have a much more successful history because we will be able to explore ideas much better than the government would if the government simply put everything to the side.